Welcome back, viewers. Today, we're diving into the heart of a geopolitical storm, where the South China Sea becomes the stage for a high-stakes drama. The U.S. has just deployed F-15s to aid the Philippines in a bold move to counter a looming threat from a Chinese warship. Buckle up as we unfold the layers of this maritime showdown. As tensions escalate in the South China Sea, the United States has made a strategic move to support its ally, the Philippines. Deploying a squadron of F-15s, the U.S. aims to send a clear message to China, asserting its commitment to maintaining stability in the region. As the aircraft roar into action, diplomatic discussions behind closed doors are intensifying. The geopolitical chessboard is rearranging, and the stakes couldn't be higher. The U.S. and the Philippines conducted a 3-day aerial exercise together last week, with fighters from both nations operating over the strategically vital South China Sea. The joint drill ran from November 21 to 23, with 2 U.S. F-15 Eagles flying alongside 2 Philippines Air Force F-15s, a Pacific Air Forces spokesperson told Air and Space Forces magazine. The aerial exercise was part of a larger maritime and aerial cooperation activity between U.S. Indo-Pacific Command and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, according to a PACAF release. The South China Sea is a hotly contested region. The People's Republic of China claims sovereignty over much of the heavily trafficked waters and has used what the U.S. and its allies call coercive and aggressive behavior to reinforce its claims. U.S. forces, meanwhile, continue to operate in the region in accordance with international law, even as the Pentagon has noted an uptick in unsafe and unprofessional incidents by Chinese warplanes and ships. U.S. forces routinely operate with allies and partners in defense of the rules-based international order and will continue to do so to maintain peace and stability in the region. The PACAF release noted, "The U.S. and the Philippines, which also has claims in the South China Sea, have tightened their alliance in recent months. In March, U.S. Air Force F-22s deployed to the Philippines for the first time ever. And in May, the two countries reintroduced the Cope Thunder aerial exercise after a 33-year hiatus. More recently, on November 6, the two countries marked the completion of the Basa Air Base runway upgrade, a project backed by a $24 million investment from Washington. The upgraded 8,000-foot runway featuring reinforced pavement can now accommodate larger aircraft, such as cargo planes used by the Philippine Air Force. It is expected that runway will also facilitate future U.S. aircraft operations as part of the country's recently expanded Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Basa Air Base, situated about 40 miles northwest of Metro Manila, was constructed by the U.S. in the 1940s, prior to World War I. On November 15, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Philippine Secretary of National Defense Gilberto Teodoro Jr. met in Jakarta, emphasizing alliance modernization and the progress of the EDCA, including the newly finished Basa runway. As an extension of the ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting plus, the two secretaries convened and reaffirmed their commitment to cultivating a transparent and peaceful Indo-Pacific region. Austin also reiterated Washington's commitment to defend the Philippines' sovereignty in its exclusive economic zone. Beijing's territorial claims of the South China Sea overlap with the Philippines' EEZ, leading to tensions and disputes over maritime rights and resources. In October, the U.S. expressed support for the Philippines against China's Coast Guard and maritime militia, which obstructed a Philippine resupply mission in the South China Sea. Austin and Teodoro Jr. also pledged to enhance bilateral operations, including the upcoming annual joint exercise dubbed Balakitan, meaning shoulder to shoulder, in 2024. This past April, the two nations hosted the largest ever Balakitan exercise, involving 12,200 U.S. troops and 5,400 AFP personnel. If Manila rallied forces from outside the region, it did not rally very many. The activity this week consisted of one lightly armed U.S. patrol ship, an Independence-class LCS, along with 3 Philippine Navy vessels. A handful of U.S. Air Force F-15 Eagles flew overwatch with fighters from the Philippine Air Force, and a P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol plane accompanied the force. The more the Philippines provokes, the heavier it will end up landing, warned Zhang Junch, a researcher at the People's Liberation Army Naval Military Academic Research Institute. The only right path for the Philippines is to return to talks and negotiations with China. China claims the vast majority of the South China Sea as its own sovereign territory, including large swaths of its neighbors' EEZs. It has built a string of military bases atop half a dozen reefs in the Spratly Islands, and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. recently warned that China is eyeing other land features even closer to the Philippines' home islands, some within 60 miles of shore. Philippine forces often face off with the China Coast Guard and Chinese maritime militia at 2nd Thomas Shoal, where China has set up a blockade around a Philippine military base. The resupply missions typically meet stiff Chinese resistance in the form of near collisions, boxing, water cannons, and, occasionally, laser illumination. The U.S. government has threatened to activate its mutual defense treaty relationship with the Philippines if the confrontations turn into an exchange of fire. Before we delve into the unfolding events, let's set the stage. The South China Sea, a region rich in resources, has been a hotspot for territorial disputes. China's assertive claims clash with those of neighboring nations, leading to simmering tensions that threaten to boil over. The long-standing alliance between the U.S. and the Philippines comes into sharp focus. As the threat looms, the Philippines calls upon its ally for support. The deployment of F-15s showcases the strength of this alliance and the commitment to mutual defense. Political leaders and military officials on both sides weigh in on the significance of this collaboration. The question on everyone's mind: will this joint effort be enough to deter the looming danger? The deployment of F-15s is not just a show of force. It's a strategic chess move. Military experts analyze the capabilities of these advanced fighter jets and how they could tip the balance in the maritime standoff. The world watches as the skies become a battleground for air superiority. As the F-15s take to the skies, attention shifts to the Chinese warship at the center of the storm. Satellite imagery and naval analyses provide insights into the capabilities of the warship and the potential scenarios that could unfold. As the situation evolves, the world holds its breath. Will diplomatic efforts prevail, or are we on the brink of a larger conflict? Stay tuned as we continue to unravel the twists and turns in this gripping geopolitical saga. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the high seas of geopolitics. If you found this video informative, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, stay informed and stay safe.